Hi, Armand here with a discussion of the nodes on the Taurus Scorpio axis. The nodes of the moon will be in these signs with the north node in Taurus and the south node in Scorpio from mid-January 2022 until about the end of July in 2023. About 18 months is how long the nodes spend in a given sign. Now, the nodes have a special meaning in your own birth chart. They have a range of meanings in your own birth chart. And on top of all, transiting nodes will do things to your birth chart. But we're not going to discuss those things. We're going to look at the nodes in our collective discussion. And that's what the nodes are. They are our collective discussion strategies, you might say. With the south node representing where we tend towards the past, where we tend to kind of hold on to the past, and the north node representing the future that we're moving towards. And so this comes into our collective discussions. It's a little bit more subtle than even something like Neptune, which is where we are collectively fascinated with or obsessed with things, or Saturn, where we're working on things and coming up with laws and policies and things like that. With the nodes, it's more how we're going about the discussion. So it's a little bit subtler kind of energy. As I said, the south node sort of pulls us back to the past. On the positive side, it helps us to solidify and understand where we've been and what we have gotten out of an experience. But on the negative side, it can make us cling to the past and resist change. It is comfortable to be in the south node until it gets very uncomfortable. The north node of the moon, on the other hand, is where we need to get new experiences, new ideas, where new forms need to emerge. It is exciting and dynamic, and usually people feel it's a little bit frightening. So let's look at the nodes of the moon as they're coming off of the Sagittarius Gemini axis. The nodes always retrograde. They would go from, let's say the north node goes from Gemini into Taurus and then into Aries, which is sort of the backwards way of the zodiac. So they retrograde around the zodiac, and they wobble a lot too. So the true node of the moon does this kind of thing, but eventually it's in a retrograde pattern. The nodes of the moon have been on Sagittarius Gemini axis for about 18 months, since about mid-2020, right? And we have seen quite a bit of the Sagittarian side of things. Now, if the south node of the moon pulls us back into the past, and Sagittarius is the sign of beliefs, then the south node of the moon in Sagittarius could be described as dogma. Right, being dogmatic about things. This is not, of course, if you're a Sagittarius and you're watching this, don't get upset. This is about our collective discussion. This isn't about individuals. South node of the moon in Sagittarius, dogma. So it's the dark side of Sagittarius, right? Good Sagittarius is always searching for the truth. Dark side of Sagittarius thinks it's found the truth, wants everybody else to know. We have seen a great deal of this. It's the polarization. It's a dual sign. Sagittarius is a dual sign. We've seen a great deal of polarization and everybody digging into their belief systems, digging into their dogma. It doesn't matter, again, in this case, it really doesn't matter, liberal or conservative, progressive, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everybody is digging into their beliefs and there's no real dialogue going on. You know, every time I say, and if you watch my weekly forecast, you know that I always say things are going to get more polarized, although I can't imagine it. Well, that's a paucity of my imagination, because things always do seem to be getting more polarized. And this has been for a while, you know, probably around 2015 or so, when Saturn went through Sagittarius, squared Neptune in 2016, and then Jupiter came through the sign. So we're really getting, you know, this is a while now. This is a while that this has been going on. And the nodes of the moon, it is the tip of the iceberg that we are sailing towards, you know, with full sails out and all the oars in the water, trying to get out there to this iceberg, which is, well, the North Node in Gemini, on the other hand, has said, well, never mind beliefs. Let's see if we can get some facts. Let's do a little bit of research. And on top of all, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. This is the good side of Gemini. You've got an idea, I've got an idea. Let's see how they go together. Let's discuss. North Node is hard to get to. You have to give up your South Node position in order to get to the North Node. You don't want to do that. You don't really want to have a discussion about things. This is it. If you want a great metric of the South Node in Sagittarius and the North Node in Gemini, consider that both conservatives and liberals and everybody across the board, including fringe folks, that's a tongue twister. Everything's a bit of a tongue twister. Fringe folks, conservatives, liberals, progressives, everybody tends to be very distrustful of the press, right? Everybody is all of a sudden, not necessarily all of a sudden, but everybody has become increasingly distrustful of the press, of the media, as though there's some gigantic conspiracy being, done with many, many people involved in this nefarious plot, and it's all coming through the media. Well, being a little suspicious of the media is not a bad idea. And indeed, many news outlets have become increasingly polarized. They're pulled down into the South Node as well. But I think that there's still plenty of mainstream media out there that does a pretty good job of reporting. They have their biases and so on, but I mean, the preponderance of some facts is enough to show. So North Node in Gemini, we're going to talk about it. We're going to share our ideas. We're going to see if the polarity can come, maybe even create a third term that would embrace both. All these things that just sound completely ridiculous in our present environment. That's the nodes of the moon on the Sagittarius Gemini axis. And we've certainly seen a lot more of Sagittarius than Gemini as far as I can see. That might be me too. So what happens when the transition goes with the South Node in Scorpio and the North Node in Taurus? Well, first of all, we're taking that Sagittarian dogma, we're taking the polarized belief systems, and we're moving them into the fixed sign of Scorpio. It's not just fixed, it's also a water sign, right? It's emotionally based. Now, Sagittarius, Gemini, fire and air. Well, here we're talking about words, we're talking actions as well, of course, but we're talking about words, we're talking about ideas, we're talking about concepts and things like that. Other planets will make stuff happen. Other planets will make stuff happen. The nodes, more about our collective dialogue. When we move into Scorpio, well, now we're not really looking at any kind of a dialogue sort of situation. This is an experiential sign. Sagittarius, Gemini, these are yang signs. These are light signs, right? The energy is more outgoing. And boy, has it been outgoing. Taurus, Scorpio are yin signs. The energy is more inward. And you might think, you might hope that maybe we'll be a little bit less over the top about things with the nodes in this sign. That would be more internal. Maybe everything doesn't have to get shouted out. And indeed, there will be a little bit less shouting, but probably a little bit more action with these signs. The problem is that the pulling inward of the energy, let's call it stewing on things and then releasing. And that's the Scorpionic process. Now, since the South Node of the moon tends to bring out the more difficult, past-oriented side of a sign, And since Scorpio is a fixed sign, which is known to be quite retentive with things, the South Node in Scorpio is a real tough placement. Okay, this is a real tendency to dig in for security. Now, Scorpio is the sign of transformation, right? This is the death and rebirth thing, right? People love to say death and rebirth, and the rebirth part is going to be great, but you got to, the first part of the first term matters quite a bit in this. And with the South Node in Scorpio, there is a great hesitation to let go and let the transformation take place. Scorpions are reactive animals, and they will actually sting preemptively, right? So we say about bees, right? Like now a bee, a regular like bumblebee, honeybee type of thing, they have stingers, but they won't sting you unless you really kind of provoke them. They're not really going to sting you just because you're there. Not so scorpions. Scorpions are going to sting defensively, right? The idea here is, I'm not sure if you mean me harm or not, but we'll sort that out after you're dead. Right? The difficulty in letting go of things, the difficulty in letting things flow. Scorpio, it's water sign, but it's water that's fixed. It's not flowing like a swamp in its own way. And again, if you're a Scorpio, this isn't about you and your personality or anything like that. This is an energy of the sign that is brought out by the South Node. The hesitancy to let go is the problem with the South Node in Scorpio, and the reactiveness that comes with it. Now, the North Node in Taurus is giving us, the good side of the equation, which is appreciation for what is, appreciation of the senses, appreciation for our physical reality. Food, sex, laying in a hammock on a nice afternoon, or laying on the couch on a nice evening, just, appreciating what we have. It also very much speaks towards going, towards looking at the earth and what needs to be done on our planet here. The South Node in Scorpio, not really very environmentally friendly. You would think that all placements would eventually be environmentally friendly, but the South Node in Scorpio is saying our security matters too much. Let's say on an economic basis, we would say that there's a pull towards keeping whatever needs to be done to keep the markets afloat, to keep the economy in a certain direction, right? Even if it costs us in terms of the environment. We can't be letting go of what we have economically, South Node in Scorpio, in order to have a healthier planet, North Node in Taurus. It's kind of the way that seesaw works. If you want a really good example, the last time that the South Node went into Scorpio was the Iraq War in March, April of 2003. And it was right at that point, it was at the very end of the 0 degrees of Sagittarius that the war started. And then the first phase of it, that sort of quick over phase that ended, I think that was when George W. Bush was on the aircraft carrier with the mission accomplished thing, was when the South Node went into Scorpio. Now, and think about that, right? The potential, it turns out the unrealized potential for weapons of mass destruction. We're going to, that was a preemptive war. That was stinging preemptively. Okay. Also, the last time that the nodes were in Sagittarius, were in Scorpio Taurus, in May of 2004, Al Gore gave a presentation after a screening of The Day After Tomorrow, which was witnessed by a producer and became the basis for the movie An Inconvenient Truth. All right, so here we have North Node in Taurus. And so these two opposing political candidates for the same office sort of give us a little demonstration of the two sides of the equation. And of course, I'm sort of cherry picking my facts, but you can sort of see how it can work. So what we're looking at is a time when there's going to be increased reactivity, right? And it will put things into action. It's not a matter of our ideas bubbling around, and ideas that have been bubbling around with the nodes in Sagittarius and Gemini squared by Neptune for a good part of the time. As a matter of fact, the ideas have been, good, bad, and just whacked out loony, conspiracy theories that are flying around, all the QAnon crap and all of that. And much more stuff has come out of this. But, these are ideas that are generated and bubbling out there. When the nodes go onto the Scorpio-Taurus axis, it's not like we're going to get such an abundance of new ideas, as we're going to get action on the ideas that we already have. The tendency of the Scorpio node to hold on, not give way, is going to be very, very strong. The North Node, of course, the North Node is the positive side of things. Maybe we'll have a good Earth Day. Maybe people will actually celebrate Earth Day, and maybe it'll come to something after all this time, possibly. But we don't really want to go there. We don't want to go there. It's a difficult thing because it's the best medicine, but we don't want to take it because it involves change. And don't think that that's other people. I don't think that's them, right? Because every side has both things going on. Nobody doesn't have both nodes of the moon going on. So I think that we're liable to see, again, some very reactive political types of things. Socially, we're going to see action based on polarized beliefs. I think that economically, there's going to be a real entrenchment. Last time the nodes were on the Taurus Scorpio axis was a time when when housing prices and just generally housing prices specifically were going up quite high, well above inflation. I think that inflation is obviously going to be a bit of a thing over the course of the next 18 months. The North Node in Taurus is telling us, well, maybe the way to handle that is to pare back on things, think about what you're really needing, and think about really appreciating what you have. Whereas the South Node in Scorpio would be pulling us towards saying, let's get some more. The South Node in Scorpio will be beneficial to institutions like banks and credit card companies, insurance companies, things like that, at least initially. It's not necessarily going to be of great value throughout the entire time, because what's likely to happen, of course, is, it's where we hold on, but it's where we're eventually going to lose the grip, right? So at least initially, those sort of scary institutions are going to get a bit of a bolster with the South Node in Scorpio. It's not gonna hold on forever, though. Now we have some interesting turning points to look forward to. Right now, the first thing is that with the nodes of the moon in Scorpio Taurus, we're going to have eclipses for the next 18 months. Scorpio Taurus, we should probably get 3 sets of eclipses, and they'll switch around, where we have the lunar eclipse in Taurus, then lunar eclipse in Scorpio, solar eclipse in Scorpio, solar eclipse in Taurus, vice versa. We'll talk about the specifics of that, but each of those eclipses represents a turning point, a release point. Some of it'll jar us out of that scorpionic grip. Some of it will pull us towards the Taurus energy. So we'll have to see how those things play out, but the eclipses will be turning points. But the really interesting turning point happens from latest July 2022 into about mid-August of 2023, where the north node of the moon is going to be conjunct the planet Uranus in Taurus. And that's going to be quite a time. Now, the nodes wobble back and forth and so move kind of slowly. Uranus is a outer planet, and so it moves slowly. So they're going to be within close orb of each other for about 3 to 4 weeks in, again, late July to mid-August of 2022. It's coming right up. This ought to be a really interesting turning point, a really interesting period. Definitely the potential to jar us out of the south node and go towards the north node. And this is that should be a big thing for us. That should be a big thing. Also, though, too, we could say that the north node is conjunct Uranus. We could also say that the south node is opposite Uranus. And so there's that conflict and that tension. Always you get both sides of the story with the nodes. That's why it's hard to talk about the nodes. You're always having a dialogue. It's not just one story. Not that one story is all that common anyway, but here it certainly isn't. So now if the south node in Scorpio is going to be benefiting banks and insurance companies and institutions like that, the north node in Taurus conjunct Uranus, well, that would seem to be extremely significant for cryptocurrencies. Now, cryptocurrencies are variously described as the new currency. They are not acting in any way that you would want your currency to act, fluctuating by factor of 2 over the course of a couple of weeks. It's not a good currency to be yielding. If you bought your car for half a Bitcoin and then all of a sudden you need 2 Bitcoin to pay for, this is a problem if you're going to use it as a currency. People talk about cryptocurrencies as being the new gold, but again, the degree of fluctuation, hardly makes for cryptocurrencies to be a safe harbor. They have been really acting like real speculative kind of investments. That's not surprising. Cryptocurrency started to rise when Uranus went into Taurus, and there are definitely associations with Taurus and the sign of money and so on. Makes a lot of sense. But it's really, really important to note that what starts out when Uranus gets into a sign and what comes out when Uranus leaves the sign are usually very different things, right? So you get the signal and then you work it out throughout the 7 years Uranus is in the sign, and then you get the result as Uranus leaves. Indeed, innovation, technology, cryptocurrency sounds about right for Uranus and Taurus. But it doesn't mean that the cryptocurrencies that went into the process back in 2018, 2019 are the ones that are going to be coming out again. Probably going to see what's going to happen, the change in direction, here's what's going on. We'll work out the details later, but here's what's going on. That is very likely to happen in August of 2022. So keep your eye out for that. Among the things that have to be talked about is the fact that cryptocurrency is so freaking energy inefficient. It is ridiculously energy inefficient, and that is going to be a bit of an issue. And that, it has already been a significant issue, but there has to be some sort of change that is going to take place. And again, the south node in Scorpio would also speak towards regulation of cryptocurrency and finding some way to stabilize it. So that's one thing to look at. The other thing to look at would be at all kinds of climate policy and things that we can do to make the Earth, stay. Well, as George Carlin said, the Earth isn't going anywhere. We are. But the things that we can do to make things better for us, to stabilize things, if it is possible to stabilize things. We're liable to see extremes of weather, of course. That's something with the North Node conjunct Uranus in Taurus. We'll likely see some extremes of weather next August. And what comes out of that is either we work towards change, or we say, yeah, it'd be great if the polar caps weren't melting and fires weren't raging and tornadoes and floods and all of that sort of stuff wasn't happening. But, you know, damned if I'm sacrificing my 401k to make any changes. And that's the South Node in Scorpio. If it sounds like it's going to be a trying time, you're probably reading my interpretation correctly. But remember what I said at the very beginning. The North Node in Taurus is about appreciating what is. It's appreciating what you have. It is about enjoying. It is about being in the moment. There's still plenty of great stuff for you to see. So go see it.